Hi, my name's Sandy. I think I know everyone who's there, but if not, Sandy O'Sullivan, and I'm a senior researcher at Batchelor Institute. My PhD is what I'm here to talk about. I'm over in the UK at the moment and in Manchester, which is why I both can't be there and why I'm pre-recording it. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the structure of it and give you a little bit of a sense of how it played out. I did it over a period of 3 years, 3.5 years it took me to finish my PhD. I was working at the same time and I did a body of work. So I'd been an artist and performer for about 20 years, bit over 20 years. I'd worked in both performance and art contexts before I began my PhD. And I'd been an academic for about 13 years, I think, when I started. And I'd just come back from the United Arab Emirates, and so I wasn't working at a university, but I started working at the same uni that I did my PhD at, which was Newcastle University in New South Wales. And I did it in the fine art area, but I'm a performance artist as well as a new media artist. And so the work was always going to involve some kind of video, but my work is often about sound and sound text. So it's that spoken word work, and storytelling is a really core part of that. So I'd already had pretty good craft skills. I'd done an undergraduate degree with honours in performance in theatre, and also a master's before I began the process. And so I'd already done 2 lots of exegeses and 2 lots of bodies of work. And the second body of work that I'd done was fairly extensive, and so I had an idea about what I needed to do for this work. For my PhD work, which began in 2002 and finished in 2005, and then I graduated at the beginning of the following year, was around identity. It very specifically was looking at intersections of sexuality, gender, and indigeneity. And so I was looking at the way that those areas and those parts of, I guess, me, but also the way that a body can inhabit those spaces. And so that was the sort of, if you like, a key research question or problem that I was solving. And it involved the generation of a few different things. One was a play that was written by me, then performed by a performance company called Imagined Arts, and I performed in it. And it was specifically around one of those ideas, but in a sense around all of them as well. And then there was a series of interviews that were done on regional representations of identity. And then I did an exhibition, a fairly major exhibition that involved 7 galleries, 6 galleries, within a space called What Space in Newcastle City. And so I used those spaces to explore a whole lot of ideas. And I think I've just sent some files that show some of that, so Lynn might be able to show you that. And then that involved some video work, some audio work, some 2D work, and some 3D work, and a whole lot of extra performance work. And that was then assessed, but before the assessment happened, I created something called an exegesis. And what an exegesis is a lot of people think it's a mini thesis, but it's not that. It's a way of being able to describe how the work is important, valuable, and a significant cultural contribution. It's starting to think about how it is framed as research. And so it's starting to understand, the idea with the exegesis is it begins a kind of a journey of understanding how this research that's in the work demonstrates some of the research findings. And so it works in concert, works connected to the bodies of work. And how I decided to do it, and you might have a look at my exegesis. I'll send it as a file if people want to see it. It's in sort of 2 parts, but fairly small. And really what it's doing is it's attempting to talk about some of those earlier pieces, and in fact the play's at the end of it too as an appendix. But it's also talking about that exhibition. And when it was examined, the examiners came in and went through the exhibition, and they were able to ask me a series of questions. They were able to talk to me about what was involved in it. That's called a viva, when you have an opportunity to do that in space. It's not always the case with creative works. Sometimes, for instance, if you've written a piece of creative writing, you don't need to intervene in that way. You can just deliver it to someone. But if something's in a space, because then there's going to be a time when it's over, it's actually really helpful to have that opportunity to have that defence. So that's really what that's about. And then, in addition to that, I had a chance to be able to not only through the exegesis to bring it all together, but when I packaged it up, it had the exegesis, it had a DVD that included some of these moments in it, and it also had the images all incorporated into that space. Now, because I'm a new media artist, it was relatively, won't say easy, but it was something that I already had the skills to be able to do. So, PhD is not a time to kind of, learn a whole lot of new craft skills. Obviously, you've already got to learn the whole skill of research. And I've seen, I'll be frank here, I've seen what's happened when people have come in unprepared to do something like a film and don't have the skills in it and have to learn that at the same time, and it's like doing another degree as well as doing a PhD. So it's very, so really with the creative work, it is about building on skills generally that you already have in the creative zone. And so it meant that I already had some of the craft skills that were required. But what I didn't have, and what most people don't have, is that I didn't really have a sense of how to do a research degree. Okay, I'd done a couple of them, but nothing as substantial as this. And I had to read a lot, in spite of it being a creative project and reviewing a lot of creative material. I also had to read everything across sexuality, gender, indigeneity, which you can imagine how big that is, let alone the other two. And I still don't think I read as much as I needed to, really. But it was, it's one of those things about doing what they call an alternative dissemination, so sort of an alternative to a thesis, is that it can be pretty hard work to try and know what needs to be incorporated into that. And of course I had to think about artists who work in the field that I work in. And so there are a lot of performance artists who are operating in that zone that I kind of tried to either include or to critically analyse. And that process of critical analysis was a really important part of the body of work that I produced. And both the creative body of work and the work that existed in the exegesis, so sort of thinking around it in both places, and I would argue, and I guess it's my main argument about the importance of doing this sort of alternative dissemination, that it often has more meaning for people. It's often a very, not just accessible form, but you can go to a kind of a wider audience than you do when you're just writing. And so for me, I was really interested in audience within that space. I was interested in finding out what audiences thought. Not that that work is included in my findings, but it's important to me as an artist to make things that I know are going to actually connect with people. And really importantly, it was the beginning of a journey of me being a better artist and a better performer. Okay, thanks for that. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.